The next subject I want to talk to you about is frequency. In Hermeticism and other areas, basically all your witchcraft, all your sorcery, Eastern mysticism as well, everything is a frequency. Everything is a vibration. And if you come to understand that, then you really will come to understand all of what magic is. And I didn't understand this for a very long time, but I think I finally got it. They believe that everything operates on a frequency, whether it be health or wealth or fitness or sadness, anything. If you were to attach it to a machine, you could actually read a frequency or a vibration. And the goal of the occult is to basically control the frequencies of your body and really ultimately raise the frequency of your body. They believe that if your body is a low frequency, you're unhealthy, and if you bring it up, it'll be healthier. They believe that if you're sad, it's a low frequency. You bring it up, you'll be happy. If you are not wealthy, that means that you're operating a low frequency. You bring it to a high frequency, you'll be wealthy, you'll be rich. And so to them, everything is a frequency, everything is a vibration.
We surrender to the rhythms of grace.
And you're down enough and you lose your sound, he takes away your power. But I came to open my mouth and let the enemy know I'm going to release a sound into the atmosphere, because when the sound comes up, so does the power come up.
Little Book of Magic to Big Book of Magic. It's 276 pages of angelic wisdom, of high vibrational light streaming through the pages.
And ultimately, the ones who get good at it, they are able to raise and lower their frequency at will. And if you can do that, man, there's no telling what you can do. And really, I want you to know that they believe that the highest frequency is love, and the lowest frequency is hate, which has strong connections to the divine feminine. The next one is alignment. Now this one has similar parallels to frequency, but it is somewhat a different concept. You see, they believe that everything that you would want in life is a frequency. It is a vibration. And so what you have to do is you have to align your physicality to this concept, and if you align them together on a vibrational level, then these things will come to you and you will attract these things. For example, if you want to be wealthy, let's just say the wealth frequency looks something crazy and chaotic like that, and you want that, but your body frequency is something much different, I mean just something way off than that, then you have to change your frequency and your aura really, and you have to align yourself to match that to some degree. And if you will match that, then this ultimately will come to you and you will attract it. It's like the law of attraction, which is the exact same thing.
If you are seeing negative things produced in your life, it's because that's the way that you have thought in your life, in your heart. You at your core are not thinking something right, because if you think according to God and dwell in Him, you will experience the victory and the power. If you are reaping sickness, it's because you've thought sickness.
And you have to align your inner self with these outer things. And that's when all that comes to you. Now there's a famous phrase that kind of captures this that I want you to see. As above, so below. Now everybody understands that if you've studied any of occultism. As above, so below. You see that with the Baphomet, he's pointing up and he's pointing down. As above, so below. But the next statement is this. As within, so without. This is all one statement, and a lot of people only pay attention to the first half of it. But as within, so without. Basically they're saying if you align yourself inside of you with something, then it will be that way on the outside. Like if you align your inner self with health, then on the outside health will just happen. Wealth will just happen. Happiness will just happen. As within, so without. As above, so below. This is the occult. This is New Age. This is esoteric. This is magic. This is the occult. This is what they teach. And you'll find that a lot of people teach this who claim to be Christians.
What did Jesus do in this situation? It says he rebuked the wind and the waves, and he spoke or released peace over the storm, and the chaos outside of him had to submit to the peace that was inside of him. So his internal reality became his external reality. The world that was in him, remember Jesus taught this, the kingdom is within you. All kingdom issues are heart issues. And when heart issues are dealt with, the world around you has to yield itself to your personal internal victory. The world around you, when you know what you're doing, when you know how to utilize the tools that God gives you, the world around you starts to take the shape of the world that is in you.
Now,
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How did you get 30/30?
With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down.
the next segment I want to talk to you about is Gnostic theology. Basically, up here you have in the universe, you have the Abraxas, who is the God of all gods, and then he has created some aeons. You have Sophia, you have Christ, and then you have Lucifer. Sophia accidentally created a god, and that god created the world. Well, this god was basically God of the Old Testament, and they called him the Demiurge. And he had created Adam and Eve and locked them in this prison. Well, the Abraxas saw that the Demiurge had locked them in there, and he sent Lucifer to give them the knowledge of the tree of good and evil in the Garden of Eden, and that was enough to release them from the garden, but it was not enough to release them from creation. And so basically later on, the Abraxas again sent Christ down to teach mankind, not as a savior, but as a spiritual teacher, to teach them how to harness this inner divine spark within them. You see, Gnosticism teaches ultimately that you have a spark within you. That's what it teaches. And if you just fan the flames of that spark, then you can transcend and go beyond the spiritual limitations that the Demiurge has put on you, and you can go and rise and become your higher self, and then you can actually transcend and go be with the Sophia, or you can even go up to the what was called the Pleroma, which is the Gnostic heaven. And that's what Gnostic theology is. And I want you to get a good understanding of that going forward, because they believe that creation is ultimately bad, and you've been locked inside it by a tyrant, which is in their mind the God of the Old Testament. And so that's what Gnostic theology is. And lastly, I want you to understand what Gnosis is. I want you to imagine that you have a person here who is stuck in creation, okay? And let's just say this is the bubble that they live in. And up here you have what we would call the spirit world. And so what you want to do is you want the spirit world to come down. And what happens is when the spirit world comes down and overlaps, if you will, with the physical world, you have something called Gnosis that takes place.
We need to have earth touched with the power and presence of God in heaven, so that order can replace chaos.
And right in this circle here is where all spiritual knowledge is gained. That's where enlightenment is gained. That's where you're able to transcend. That's where you're able to raise your consciousness. That's where all of this stuff takes place that is good and right in the minds of the esoterists. That right there is Gnosis. And so I want everybody to understand that everything these people are doing, they're looking for a spiritual experience. And these are the tools that you're going to need going forward to understand this documentary. During the COVID lockdowns, there was a man named Sean Foich who rose to prominence as a worship leader. He would go into towns that were having these riots and would start singing and having church services out in the public square. I started to research him and I found out that he was associated with Bethel Church, which to me meant he was a part of the New Apostolic Reformation. I kept my eye on him for some time, and I noticed that he started to suddenly post all these pictures of him with the number 222. And it wasn't just one, it was several posts that he made about 222, 222. Several people had questioned him about it, and he even claimed that God always spoke to him through numbers and signs, which him being associated with Bethel Church didn't surprise me in the least. They're New Agers, they're not Christians. Then I realized, as I looked into this, that this is how this all works. Twos. Some would call it a duality. But that's how all of this works. There are twos. And it seems like all of this deception that we speak about is divided into twos. And so that's how we will divide this film, into twos. There will be two spirits. There will be two spiritualities. And there will be two gospels. And we will take the time in this film to explore these twos. Because that's how it all works. 222.